On Friday, Governor Calvo signed a bill into law creating a 1% increase in the business privilege tax, or gross receipts tax, and a 2% sales tax. What kind of effect will this have on consumers and on the economy? We sat down with UOG Professor of Economics, Dr. Roseanne Jones, to find out.
Nobody likes a tax. They just don't like it. They like the freedom of being able to spend what they earn.
UOG Professor of Economics Dr. Roseanne Jones says that there is still a lot that is unknown about how tax increases will affect Guam's economy.
But we do know that it doesn't add economic value or stimulus to the private market when those taxes happen. So there is a downside to taxation, and if it gets too burdensome, you can actually stall your private market economic activity. The consumer has to now spend more for what they want to buy, and the producer or the seller would like to increase the price, but they can't, so they're still getting the same price that they had to pay. And so neither the seller nor the buyer are better off for this tax, and so it actually leaves the marketplace and comes into the government. So there is this dead weight loss of economic activity. It's kind of a draining of monies out of the free market into the government. I think there's always a fear that government will get used to this and then continue to grow government and come back again for the next increase and then the next increase.
However, Dr. Jones says taxes are necessary in order to run a government. The issue is determining how much to tax to fund the government without overburdening the economy. There are some potential positive effects of these tax increases, at least in the short term.
So there's kind of this, in economic terms, a stocking up effect. So we actually see, maybe in the short run, a bit of a stimulus, that people start going and buying things that they know aren't going to, that aren't perishable and will last a while, and so, okay, now's the time to buy before this tax goes in.
On April 1st, the business privilege tax, also known as the gross receipts tax, will go up by 1%, from 4% to 5%. This increase will last until the end of this fiscal year, or September 30. Then, after the BPT goes back to 4%, a 2% sales tax will kick in on October 1st, or the beginning of the next fiscal year. Dr. Jones says this 2% sales tax is on the low end of sales taxes nationwide.
They can have upwards of 6, 7, 8% sales tax. And it's a tax on consumption. So in some sense, what they're trying to do is saying, well, this is a discretionary kind of tax. You can avoid it by not consuming so much.
However, Dr. Jones says this sales tax will probably be easier for those with higher incomes to swallow.
While perhaps upper income levels can avoid some of the tax by doing without, or it doesn't take as much money. 2% is not that much money to a high income household, but it begins to add up to the lower income households.
And those on food stamps or the SNAP program will have to pay the sales tax out of pocket.
The food stamp program, the SNAP program, does not compensate for a sales tax.
Dr. Jones says a lot of the effects are still unknown, like whether there will be a decline in spending by tourists or how much the tax will affect consumer spending, especially for those with lower incomes.